Good morning, everybody. Good morning. As we get started, one of the most interesting things is actually being back in this auditorium. I was last here for this symposium, in fact, in 2016, talking about how the IT city could also be a healthy city. So it's wonderful to be back. I know this is a project management symposium, so contra Dr. Gokal's assertion earlier, one of the most important things about project management is knowing your milestones, and 8:15 was our start time, so we are right on time. So it's great to be back with you all. We'll talk a little bit, I think, about one of the most important projects we're doing. I know you all, I'm very glad to see such a good turnout today. I want to recognize our Chief Development Officer, Bob Mendez, who is here with me. We served on the Metro Council together for 8 years. He is working on one of the other biggest projects we will manage. So I think you'll get a little bit of a tag team taste of what we're working on as an administration today, and I want to talk you through kind of how we got to this point. But a lot of the focus of today's presentation is on one of the biggest projects I hope we have the opportunity to manage, because I think Metro has had a habit for the past couple of decades of project managing our planning processes very well, and we are eager to move into implementation on many of those, and I think you'll hear from Bob about his, and we'll get started. So one of our biggest things is Choose How You Move. This is a transportation improvement program that we have put together right after we took office, effectively. So we took office and have known, and I spent back right before I came to the symposium, I was on the Nashville MTA Board of Directors, and we spent 7 years making some incremental progress in just the transit component of what we were doing. But in the 8 years I spent on Metro Council, we knew we were honestly falling further behind in terms of our transportation infrastructure, our transit service levels. We were watching other cities outpace us, and we knew we had to do more. We created a transportation improvement program called Choose How You Move, and we'll get into the details in a little bit. And one of the reasons why is because Nashville has been succeeding dramatically in terms of economic growth in all ways, not just in sort of traditional jobs-based economic growth, but also in the way that our destination economy has attracted people. You can see we have had multiple years of record-setting passenger volume at Nashville International Airport, having more than 21 million passengers pass through the airport in 2023, on track to break it yet again this year. The pandemic, we recovered more quickly than any other large American city in terms of our downtown performance. We actually have more people active in downtown now than we did before the pandemic. The Urban Land Institute earlier this year actually revealed something remarkable, which is that for 3 years in a row, something that had never happened in the history of the organization, as they look at urban land development around the country, we were the city to watch for real estate investment and development 3 years running. And you can see we're adding 100 new residents a day, not just to Nashville, but to the surrounding counties. In fact, as often as not, if you take the surrounding counties combined, the number of people moving into the MSA, often you see more people moving into the region than into Nashville and Davidson County proper. But there is a cost associated with that growth. Just a few weeks after the Urban Land Institute, research was revealed in Forbes magazine. We saw another story in Forbes that showed that we have the worst commute in the United States among large American cities. And the reasons are we fare poorly on all three of walk score, bike score, and transit score. Meanwhile, we are at the point where when I was growing up in Nashville, I thought a house roughly cost $100,000. Now you need a six-figure salary even to be able to buy a home in Nashville. And at Nashonomics, the recent forum hosted by the Greater Nashville Realtors, we discovered that through their research, the median home price in Nashville has now climbed above $500,000 for the first time. So cost of housing is quite high. Cost of living as a result is quite high. So when we took office, we knew that it was important to lean into some priorities that needed focus. And we had kind of come through a period of volatility in Metro. We went through more mayors in a shorter number of time than we usually do. And after a period of stabilizing our finances, it was time to get back on track for things that let us tackle cost of living and quality of life. So we organized 3 transition committees. The first was How Nashville Moves. You can see we kind of put together illustrations based on the recommendations of these 3 committees. They started basically the day we took office, 3 groups of resident-led efforts that worked with subject matter experts and came up with policy recommendations. And one of the top ones you can see here is they considered very clearly the idea of a referendum to pursue dedicated funding for transportation and infrastructure. We thought this was a good idea. In fact, at the presentation of this recommendation, they said we should move very quickly on this, even strongly considering November. So as we closed out last year, our first 100 days, we took a long, hard look at this, worked with WeGo, our public transit authority, and our Nashville Department of Transportation, which used to be the Public Works Department. And they were starting to move toward alignment with mobility planning. And we said, let's accelerate this, turn it into a program that would comply with the IMPROVE Act, bipartisan legislation from a few years ago, and we are underway with that. We know that the city's gotten more congested. We know that we have safety issues. 2022 was the deadliest year on record for pedestrians in the city of Nashville. We had more fatal car crashes than we've had before, and this is a choice, so we want to manage against that. Similarly, we have looked at some frustrations. There have been some I would say things rising above simple inconvenience in terms of how the function of government works. So we wanted to not just do project management, we wanted to do customer service. So we had a committee organized around that. Some of you may be familiar with Hub Nashville. It's a program that was implemented when Megan Barry was mayor and continues to this day, and we have worked again from day one to try to improve it. If you're not familiar, you can visit hub.nashville.gov. There is an app for almost every smartphone. It is the best way to let Metro know about something that needs attention, anything from reporting a pothole that's out or a street light that may be failing to scooters blocking sidewalks. If you log in, we've got a UI UX committee that's working to try to make it better, more easy to use, but this gives us data about the performance of Metro's government as a whole. It lets us know what parts of the city may be experiencing issues. It gives us information about what kinds of people might be experiencing issues and lets us orient our focus around it. So the policy recommendations here were to make sure that our Metro departments are collaborating, that the platform supporting them, that this is a great example of how people and platforms come together to make Nashville a top tier, to have our government, Metro, be a top tier customer service organization.